People think trading is about charts, numbers, and timing. But the truth is, it's a mirror that reflects everything you try to hide from yourself: fear, greed, doubt, the hunger to prove something, the desperation to be right, the ego that whispers, you can't miss this one. That's FOMO, the fear of missing out. And it's one of the most silent destroyers of your potential. I've seen people chase coins not because they believed in them, but because they couldn't stand the idea of someone else winning without them. They don't realize the market doesn't punish ignorance. It punishes impatience. It punishes the inability to wait, to breathe, to think. When Bitcoin pumps 20% in a day, the internet becomes a battlefield of emotions. Tweets, screenshots, gains. Everyone suddenly becomes a genius. And in that chaos, your brain forgets its own voice. You start to believe you're late, that you've missed the train. So you jump in, not because of logic, but because of fear. Fear of not belonging. Fear of being the only one left behind. But here's the paradox. The moment you chase, you've already lost. Because trading isn't a sprint to catch opportunities. It's the art of waiting for them to come to you. Every impulsive click, every emotional trade is just a reflection of a restless mind. And in crypto, a restless mind bleeds money faster than any bad strategy. When I first entered this market, I thought discipline meant staring at charts for hours. But true discipline is emotional control. It's the ability to do nothing when every part of you wants to do something. It's sitting through noise, holding your breath, watching candles move up and down like waves, and realizing that the ocean doesn't care about your feelings. The market doesn't owe you a profit. It doesn't care about your plans, your dreams, or your predictions. It rewards those who can observe without reacting. The ones who stay calm when everyone else panics, who stay patient when everyone else rushes. Because in trading, the calm mind always wins the war of chaos. But let's be honest, FOMO isn't just about missing profits. It's about missing validation. When you see others win, it triggers something ancient in you. That little voice that says, if they can, why can't I? And that's when you stop trading the chart and start trading your emotions. You open the app again and again, watching prices like a gambler watches dice. Every green candle is hope. Every red one is fear. You're no longer analyzing, you're reacting. And when you react, you surrender your power to the market. You become a puppet, and the market pulls your strings. That's why I always tell traders, your worst enemy isn't volatility, it's yourself. The chart doesn't trick you. The coin doesn't lie to you. You lie to yourself when you think, just one more trade, I'll recover. That's how people burn accounts, not because of bad luck, but because they couldn't control their impulse to chase. There was a time I FOMO'd into Solana when it hit $200. Everyone was posting screenshots, profits, predictions of $1,000 Solana. I bought the top, of course. And when it dropped 30%, I told myself, it'll bounce back. It didn't. I didn't lose just money that day. I lost confidence. And that's when I realized something deeper. FOMO isn't about missing a move. It's about not trusting your own plan. A strong trader doesn't follow the crowd. He builds his own rules. Like a monk in the middle of a storm, he follows the rhythm of patience. He plans his entries, his exits, and his risks, not to predict the market, but to control himself. Because a plan is not just a tool, it's a shield. It protects you from the chaos of emotion. You need to write that plan down, literally, not in your head, on paper. Define your entry, your exit, your stop loss. Set it before the storm hits. Because once emotion takes over, logic disappears. You can't rely on willpower in the heat of a trade. You must rely on structure. And when you feel that familiar heat in your chest, the urge to act, the anxiety that says, you're missing it, pause. Don't trade, breathe, do nothing. The hardest action in trading is inaction. But that's where mastery begins. There's a breathing technique I use, the 4-7-8 rule. You inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale for 8. Do it 3 times. It slows your heartbeat. It clears your head. It reminds you you're not in danger. The market is not your enemy. Your reaction is. I remember using that breathing during the 2022 crash. Everything was red. Bitcoin was collapsing. Dogecoin was bleeding. Fear everywhere. And in that silence, I just breathed. I checked my plan. My stop loss hadn't hit yet, so I did nothing. I waited. 2 weeks later, the market recovered. That's when I learned. The calmer you are, the luckier you get. The truth is, no one can escape FOMO completely. It's wired into us. But you can learn to dance with it, to turn it from fear into awareness. Every time you feel that pull to jump in, remind yourself, opportunities are infinite, but your capital is not. FOMO thrives in noise, but clarity lives in silence. That's why you must learn to disconnect. Step away from charts, from social media, from endless opinions. The market rewards observation, not obsession. If you want to build a trading mindset that lasts, start small. Keep a trading journal. Write not just your numbers, but your emotions. Write what you felt before you entered, what you felt when it moved against you, and what you felt when you closed the trade. Over time, patterns will appear. You'll see that your biggest losses didn't come from bad analysis. They came from impatience. Your journal becomes your mirror. It shows you your fears, your triggers, your illusions. It's uncomfortable at first because it reveals the truth. But the truth is what sets you free from repeating the same emotional cycle again and again. And maybe one day you'll realize trading was never about predicting the market. It was about mastering yourself. Because when you master your emotions, profits follow naturally. You see, every trader starts with a dream to catch the next big wave, to double the account, to finally be free. But what they don't realize is that freedom doesn't come from profit. It comes from control. Control over the one thing that decides every trade, your mind. The more you chase quick wins, the further you move from real mastery. Because mastery isn't built on adrenaline. It's built on boredom, on repetition, on waiting through days where nothing happens. Most people can't handle that silence. They crave excitement. They want the rush, the movement, the thrill. But that thrill is poison. It feeds the very emotions that make you lose. Think about it. The moment you need the market to move for you, you've already given it your power. You've attached your emotions to an external force. That's not trading. That's dependency. The great traders don't depend. They prepare. They study. They wait. And when their moment comes, they act with precision, not emotion. When you look at a chart, you're not looking at numbers. You're looking at human behavior. Fear and greed printed into price. And if you can't control your own emotions, you'll just become part of the pattern, another heartbeat in the crowd. There's an old saying, the market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Every candle tells that story. Every fake breakout, every panic drop, it's the market testing your patience, testing whether you can sit still while others lose control. You must learn to detach, to accept that missing a trade is better than losing your peace. Because the moment you start chasing, you stop seeing clearly. You become addicted to motion. You think, I have to be in the market. No, you don't. Sometimes the most profitable trade is the one you never take. There's a strange power in doing nothing, in watching the storm and not reacting. It feels unnatural at first, almost painful. But that's where transformation happens. Because in that stillness, you begin to hear the quiet voice of reason again. The voice that says, wait, observe, trust your plan. And here's the truth that took me years to understand. Your goal isn't to beat the market. It's to stop fighting yourself. Once you stop battling your emotions, trading becomes effortless. You start to see patterns others can't, because your mind is no longer clouded by fear. I remember one night, staring at my screen at 2 a.m. Bitcoin was flying. Every minute, another green candle. My pulse raced. My fingers hovered over the buy button. I could feel the heat in my chest, the urge, the panic, the voice saying, you'll miss it. I closed my laptop. I went for a walk instead. The next morning, the chart had crashed, and for the first time, I felt something rare. Not regret, but peace. That peace, that's the real profit. It's the moment you realize you don't need to chase anything anymore. You are no longer controlled by the market's noise. You've taken your power back. If you want to last in this game, understand this. Success isn't about how much you make in one trade. It's about how calm you stay through 100. Anyone can win once. But staying consistent, that's emotional endurance. That's what separates the amateurs from the masters. FOMO will whisper to you every day. It will show up disguised as opportunity. It will make you feel late, unworthy, small. But every time it does, remind yourself, you're not in a race. You're in a practice, a lifelong practice of patience, discipline, and self-awareness. Every time you resist the urge to act out of fear, you win. Even if you don't make a dollar, you've earned something greater: clarity. The kind of clarity that compounds over time, just like capital, because awareness is interest on wisdom. The more you build it, the richer your decisions become. So the next time you see the market explode and your heart starts pounding, do one thing: step back, breathe. Ask yourself, am I reacting or am I deciding? Because one builds you, the other destroys you. This market doesn't reward emotion, it rewards observation. You don't need to predict what happens next. You need to remain calm enough to respond correctly when it does. Remember this: missing one opportunity never killed a trader, but chasing every opportunity has destroyed thousands. You don't have to win every trade. You just have to keep your composure long enough for your edge to work. The market is not your enemy. It's your mirror. Every chart, every loss, every surge, it's showing you yourself. And the real work isn't on the screen. It's inside your mind. The mind of a trader is a battlefield no one else can see. Every morning, you wake up and fight invisible enemies: fear, doubt, greed, impatience. They don't show up on the chart, but they're there, waiting behind every candle. And unless you train your mind to recognize them, they'll win every time. Most people think trading is about prediction, but the truth is, it's about reaction. How you react when you're wrong. How you react when you're right. How you react when nothing happens. That's the real test. You can have the best strategy in the world, the perfect indicators, the best entry point. But if your emotions aren't aligned, you'll sabotage yourself. You'll close early when you should have held. You'll add risk when you should have stopped. You'll let greed whisper that one last move is coming. And when it doesn't, you'll watch everything disappear. It's not the market that betrays you. It's your need for control. Because deep down, every trader wants certainty in an uncertain world. You want to know what happens next. You want to believe you can outsmart chaos. But trading isn't about control. It's about surrender. The more you try to force the market to obey you, the more it punishes you. The paradox of trading is this: the less you try to control the outcome, the more control you gain over yourself. You learn to stop predicting and start observing. You stop chasing and start preparing. That's when everything changes. I remember a friend who made $10,000 in a week. He thought he'd found the secret. The next week, he lost 20. Not because his strategy failed, but because he couldn't stop himself from trying to recreate that high. That's the addiction of FOMO. It's not about money. It's about the emotional hit, the rush of being right, the illusion of mastery. You have to break that addiction. You have to learn to love the quiet weeks, the ones with no trades, no action, no adrenaline. Because that's where clarity grows. Those are the weeks when real traders are built. There's a moment in every trader's journey when they realize this isn't about the market at all. It's about psychology. You're not studying charts, you're studying yourself. You're not managing trades, you're managing emotions. Every candle you see is a reflection of human weakness, and every decision you make is a reflection of your strength. Once you understand that, the game slows down, the noise fades. The same chart that once felt like chaos starts to look like rhythm. You start to see patterns not in price, but in behavior. You realize that every panic, every pump, every dump is just human emotion repeating itself. And the ones who win are not the ones who predict best, but the ones who stay calm longest. Discipline is not just saying no to bad trades, it's saying no to yourself, to your impulses, your fears, your need to always do something. It's learning to delay the dopamine hit, to accept boredom, to trust that patience compounds. Every time you resist the urge to enter early, you sharpen your edge. Every time you stick to your stop loss, you build emotional muscle. Every time you journal your mistakes instead of ignoring them, you evolve. That's how mastery is built. Not in the big wins, but in the small acts of control repeated over time. Trading is like meditation. The more you do it, the more you realize the goal isn't to win, it's to stay centered. You don't fight the noise, you watch it pass. You don't force the outcome, you let it unfold. You learn to exist in uncertainty without losing your calm. The traders who survive the longest are not the smartest. They're the most emotionally aware. They know when to step back. They know when to stop. They know when to let go. They understand that missing a trade is just another form of patience being rewarded later. And when you finally experience that shift, when you realize your piece is worth more than a profit, that's when trading stops being a battle and becomes a conversation between you and the market, between your fear and your faith, between who you are now and who you're trying to become. The market doesn't just test your money, it tests your character. It asks, can you wait? Can you stay calm? Can you act with reason when everyone else acts with fear? And if your answer is yes, you'll find something most traders never do: consistency. Because consistency isn't a result of knowledge, it's the result of emotional mastery. So when the next bull run comes and you see coins exploding and the noise returns, remember this moment. Remember that peace is profit. Remember that silence is a strategy. Remember that FOMO is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It shows you what part of you still craves validation, what part of you still fears being left behind. And when you face that part and understand it, you become free. Free from the need to prove, free from the fear of missing out, free from the illusion that you must always be doing something to move forward. Because sometimes the most powerful move in trading and in life is stillness. Stillness is not weakness, it's presence. It's the rare ability to see the storm without becoming part of it. While everyone else chases, you observe. While others panic, you breathe. That's how traders evolve from emotional players into disciplined architects of their own fate. There was a time I thought missing out was failure, that if I didn't take every chance, I'd fall behind. But over time, I realized something different. The market will always give you another chance. What it won't give you is another mindset. You can recover money. You can't recover emotional damage if you never learn from it. Every time you act out of fear, you tell your mind that fear works. That's how it grows. But every time you pause, breathe, and wait, you teach your mind that control works better. You're reprogramming yourself, trade by trade, decision by decision, breath by breath. That's how patience becomes instinct. Think of your emotions like waves. You can't stop them from coming, but you can learn to surf them. You can ride the rise and fall without drowning in it. That's the essence of trading. Not eliminating fear or greed, but learning to coexist with them without letting them steer the wheel. Some traders say the market is cruel, but it's not. It's honest, brutally honest. It shows you exactly who you are under pressure. It doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter. It reflects. And when you start seeing it as a mirror instead of a monster, you start growing. Growth in trading doesn't happen when you make money. It happens when you lose money and still keep your calm. When you take a loss, learn from it, and move on without resentment. When you stop needing every trade to be perfect. That's when ego dies and wisdom takes its place. I've seen traders blow up accounts not because of bad analysis, but because they couldn't forgive themselves for one mistake. They spiral, they revenge trade, they chase the loss, and the more they chase, the deeper they fall. Because the real loss was never financial, it was emotional. They lost their center. That's why emotional recovery is more important than financial recovery. After a losing trade, don't ask, how can I make it back? Ask, what triggered me? What did I feel before I clicked buy? What pattern in me needs healing? Because until you fix the emotional pattern, you'll repeat the same mistake in different trades. You see, the market isn't a competition against others. It's a mirror of your inner patterns: discipline, patience, greed, fear, ego. Each trade exposes one of them. And if you're aware enough, each trade becomes a lesson in self-mastery. That's the beauty of this game. It's not about winning against others. It's about winning against the parts of yourself that sabotage your own progress. There's a point in every trader's life when they stop asking, what will the market do next? And start asking, what will I do next time this happens? That's the shift from guessing to mastering, from reacting to responding, from being tossed by the waves to learning how to sail. Patience is your anchor. Discipline is your compass. Self-awareness is your wind. You can't control the ocean, but you can control how you navigate it. Some nights I still feel it, that tension, that whisper that says, maybe you should act now. Maybe this is your moment. And sometimes I listen, but most times I smile. Because I know it's just the echo of old fears trying to pull me back. And every time I don't act, every time I wait, that voice gets weaker. That's how freedom sounds, quieter each day. The truth is, the real battle isn't fought in the market. It's fought in the silence before you click. The moment between thought and action. That's where your destiny is shaped. Every successful trader learns to stretch that moment, to breathe into it, to let awareness replace impulse. The amateurs live in the reaction. The masters live in the pause. So when you sit before the screen, before that flickering chart, remember, the chart is not your enemy. The chart is neutral. It has no intention. It doesn't care who wins or loses. The meaning you attach to it, that's what makes it dangerous. Detach. Watch without labeling. Feel without judging. Trade without expecting. When you can do that, you're no longer gambling. You're creating. You're shaping your behavior into precision. Trading becomes an art form, not because of how much you earn, but because of how deeply you understand yourself. And here's the final truth most traders never grasp. FOMO isn't a curse. It's an invitation. Every time you feel it rise, it's the market handing you a mirror asking, do you trust yourself yet? If the answer is yes, you'll wait. If the answer is no, you'll chase. And in that single choice, your future is decided. Because wealth doesn't belong to those who move fastest. It belongs to those who move last, with patience, awareness, and conviction. When everyone else runs, you walk. When everyone else shouts, you listen. When everyone else fears missing out, you understand. You're not missing anything meant for you. The real profit was never in the trade. It was always in the transformation. There comes a moment when you stop chasing and everything goes quiet. The noise fades, the urgency disappears, and you just sit there, staring at the same chart that once controlled your emotions, and suddenly you feel nothing. Not boredom, not fear, just clarity. You realize it was never about the price. It was never about the profit. It was always about what the market was trying to teach you. Patience, humility, awareness. It was shaping you, breaking you, showing you who you are when control is taken away. You remember the nights you couldn't sleep, the mornings you opened the charts before opening your eyes fully, the way your heart raced with every candle. You thought it was passion, but it was attachment. You thought it was focus, but it was fear. You kept chasing noise because silence made you confront yourself. Now you see it clearly. You don't crave winning trades anymore. You crave peace. You don't want to prove anything. You want to understand. The market isn't your enemy. It's your reflection. Every panic you felt came from the chaos inside you. Every mistake was a mirror showing what still needed to heal. You start to slow down. You stop reacting. You start breathing before you act. Every breath becomes a decision. Every pause a lesson. You learn that stillness is not weakness. It's control without force. It's strength without noise. You begin to notice something. The market doesn't change, but you do. The same candles, the same patterns, but now they move differently in your eyes. They don't trigger you anymore. They just move, and you watch, detached, present, calm. You start to understand that the real game isn't making the right trade. It's making the right decision about yourself. It's learning when to stop, when to walk away, when to wait. And when you do, you realize waiting is not losing. Waiting is mastery. The world will call you slow. The noise will call you lazy. But deep down, you'll know the truth. You're not falling behind. You're falling into alignment. You're learning to move only when it's time. You're learning to act without fear, to enter without doubt, to exit without regret. You'll watch others chase and panic, and you'll understand they're not trading coins, they're trading emotions. They don't lose to the market, they lose to themselves. You used to be them, now you're not. Because you learned that real wealth isn't made in moments of chaos, it's made in moments of calm. The longer you stay calm, the clearer you see. The clearer you see, the wiser you act. And the wiser you act, the more the market begins to follow your rhythm instead of breaking it. One day, you realize something profound. You don't need to control the outcome anymore. You just need to control your state. You don't need to predict the future. You just need to be ready when it arrives. You don't need to chase success. You just need to stop running from stillness. Every trade becomes a test of self-awareness. Every loss becomes a teacher. Every win becomes a whisper saying, stay humble. The market no longer feels like chaos. It feels like conversation. It's talking to you, showing you where you are, what you fear, what you still need to let go of. You stop asking, when will I make it? And start asking, who am I becoming while I wait? You realize that the longer the journey takes, the more patient you grow, and that patience itself is wealth. FOMO still visits, but now it finds no home in you. It knocks, but you don't open the door. You watch it fade like smoke. You understand that missing out isn't real. You can't miss what was never meant for you. You only miss yourself when you chase what's not yours. You learn that wealth isn't built from speed. It's built from serenity. The richest mind is the quietest one, and the quietest one always sees what the loudest never can. You no longer fear the red candles. You no longer worship the green ones. You respect both because both are part of the same rhythm, the rhythm that trains your discipline and refines your perception. You realize the real prize isn't money. It's awareness. It's being awake in a world asleep in greed. It's understanding that patience is power and calm is currency. The market will rise, the market will fall, and through it all, you'll remain, watching, breathing, evolving. You won't chase wealth anymore. You'll attract it by becoming the kind of person who doesn't need it to feel complete. And that's when the shift happens. The moment when you stop playing the game to win and start playing it to understand. The noise stops mattering. The outcome stops defining you because you've already won the hardest battle, the one against yourself. The market never changed. You did.